What's good, everybody? Welcome back to Boulda Sports Talk. I'm your host, Matthias, and we got everything loaded for you tonight. Today, we'll be talking about NFL draft breakdowns, hot takes, MLB going crazy, some good news on the Chicago side, a wild story with Trevor Bauer throwing a no-hitter in his first few games back in the U.S., and they show playoffs chaos and NBA history of the James family. So let's get into it.
Ready to rumble!
And you are watching Boulda Sports Talk.
The NFL draft just wrapped up this past weekend, and a lot of good things happened from the draft. Some great picks, some mediocre picks, and some bad picks. But I have some things that I want to say. I don't like the draft. I think the draft is overhyped and overused. You don't know how these NFL rookies are going to act like when they hit the NFL grass running. You only see them playing 3 seasons, some two. For example, Fernando Mendoza, first overall to the Raiders. He's gonna be a great pick. We might, he might do so well. He might not. We don't know. Some other great picks. Sometimes they don't play well until their third or fourth team. But what I'm trying to say is we don't know how these players are going to play in the NFL, and we're using all these media attention from medias to draft these picks. We see their stats, we see their college games, we see their NFL combine, we see how fast they run, we see how fast they jump, if they can catch the ball well, but we don't see them play against NFL players. You don't see them playing against a 300-pound freaking lineman trying to kill their freaking whole family. Now, like, for example, Josh Allen, when he was drafted, everyone hated him. They're like, why did we pick him? Why did we pick a nobody? He didn't win a Heisman. He didn't win a lot of games. He didn't win a big championship. So why did we draft him? Then a few years go by. We love him. I love Josh Allen. I want to marry Josh Allen. I don't say that, but other people do say that. Josh Allen's a great guy. But people hated him because of all the things they saw about him, but never saw him play. This is what it's like for a lot of NFL stars, a lot of NFL draft picks. You don't see these players picked. Now, Fernando Mendoza, first overall pick. So he was a redshirt at Cal in California. Then he played his second sophomore year. Then he transferred to Indiana and won their championship. He only played 2 seasons and only had one great season. So how do we know he's going to be the best player in the NFL if he only had one good season? He, he should. I think he should have waited until his senior year to enter the NFL draft. He didn't throw out a combine, so why should we draft him first overall? There's other great players that have not been drafted who should be drafted before him. Now that's my hot take. And another hot take is I don't think 3 or 4 of these top 10 players are going to make it be on the team that they were drafted on in the next 3 or 4 seasons. Most likely 2 seasons. Because they're going to be, waived, they're going to be cut, they're going to be sent down and told them that they're not great because these teams that draft them were not great. That's why they're top 10 picks. They're picking the best players to be on the worst freaking teams ever. Now, uh, the Vikings drafted some picks. They drafted O-line, D-line, a running back, cornerback, a fullback that can play tight end. And when we drafted this running back, people were upset. They're like, why did we not pick this other running back? Why did we not pick this? This is what I'm upset about. Fans think they have control of the game. They think they do. They get mad at the social media people for even posting. They're like, why are you posting? Focus on the draft. It's like, are we this stupid? It's 2026. There's people that have jobs, that their own jobs to post social media. Half of them don't even know what football is. They're just paid. They're there for the money. Like to be upset at social media people for wanting to post things about players is stupid. And when we drafted this running back, he was the second fastest at the combine. But no, that's not in their head. They're like, I want him. I want that quarterback, the quarterback the Chiefs got. Oh, look at him. Oh, look at him go. Like, use your brain, people. You're on the couch, and these guys are getting paid to do what they do. They do more research than you do on social media. What you see on social media is not what you see on what the coaches and GMs and everyone in the staff sees. So, like, with the NFL is completely different than what college is, high school is. Some of these players have never gone against a 400-pound lineman, unless he went against that one guy from freaking Florida a couple years ago who went to Tampa Bay. I don't know how he's doing, but I know he can barely pass a physical. Now, like, like injuries going to happen more and more. There's a guy that the Vikings drafted who had 2 injuries in the past season, only played 3 games. Now, I don't know how he's going to act because he only played 3 games this past season, so how is that? So I think we need to stop making assumptions like we do at the NFL draft. Every year we make assumptions. But then few years pass down, you know, like I loved him. We would say I love him. You dick ride him. You dick ride every single freaking top 10 draft picks, but you don't dick ride the other top 0 athletes. You don't dick ride the free agents who busted their ass off to play. Now we move over to now, for example, Sam Darnold, top 10 draft pick. I think he was first round pick, drafted by the Jets. He went to the 49ers, to the Vikings. He had a great season on the Vikings. But dumbass Quezzy Mendoza, or what his fucking name is, the GM freaking decided to cut him because he couldn't win a playoff game. But then he signed with Seahawks and won a playoff game and won a Super Bowl. What were you thinking? What were you thinking? So I think we need to stop talking about how bad these picks are at the NFL draft. So let's move to the MLB and some baseball news. Chicago Cubs, they were on a 10-game winning streak. They won against the Philadelphia Phillies. Then they won a game against the Los Angeles Dodgers. The Cubs, they beat the reigning champs. You don't see that. You beat the reigning champs from one of the worst teams in baseball right now. Um, and there's a lot of major pitching injuries. There's a lot of injuries from both teams, so people can say, "Oh, this guy's injured. Oh, this guy's injured." But the Cubs winning, you don't see that. And thanks to one of my friends, Keegan, who pointed that out, I didn't see that either because the media won't broadcast that. The media did not broadcast that very often because they dick ride the Los Angeles Dodgers to the point. They dick ride Shohei Ohtani to the point that they love him. So great for the MLB to. I'm finally going to broadcast, the winnings of these low teams. Now let's move over to the Twins. Twins, they lost to the New York Mets this past week. They were on a 12-game losing streak. The New York Mets, one of the worst freaking teams in the world, beat the Minnesota Twins. The Minnesota Twins a couple of weeks ago was the first in the ALC. I don't even know what they are now because they're so bummed right now. What were the Minnesota Twins working on, focusing on? Because it's definitely not winning. And what's more embarrassing, after the series ended, that we lost to the Mets, we Mets swept us pretty much. The Mets, one of the Mets pitchers, the next game, not against the Twins, forgot he got pulled. He got pulled for the closer to pitch, and after that inning was over, that Mets pitcher went back on to the field and forgot. Like, what was bro thinking? Are we so freaking illusion? Like, are we so stupid? He had so per rules he had to pitch one batter before he got taken out, and now I don't think he's gonna pitch again because of how stupid he was. Now some firings happened the past week. Red Sox fired their coaching staff, pretty much their whole coaching staff. And they fired Alex Cora. Then the Philadelphia Phillies just fired their coach. I've got his name, but he fired him this past week. So a lot of firings are happening pretty early on in the season. So I'm kind of wondering who's going to step up for each of these teams. I know most of the Minnesota Twins past players are on the Philadelphia Phillies, so we'll see how that goes. Now we'll move over to Long Island. Trevor Bauer. Trevor Bauer just pitched a no-hitter in 7 innings with the Long Island Ducks. His first 2 games back into the U.S. after being blacklisted from the MLB. Former Cy Young winner, one of the most dominant pitchers of our time, and elite strike ability. This isn't one random player who, leaves the MLB and pitches somewhere else. He's one of the greats, and he should be back in the MLB. But why is he not in the MLB? Because of some SA allegations that never happened. Lindsay Hill, the lady that accused Trevor Bauer of SA, now has multiple charges against her because this never happened. No SA has ever happened with Trevor Bauer. None. But the MLB blacklisted him for allegations, league suspicions, and legal battles. So, Trevor Bauer has done nothing wrong. He's denied everything, which he has done nothing wrong. So I think the MLB needs to step up. But I know they're never going to allow him back on because that's going to look way worse for them to say that they made a mistake. No team's going to do that. Um, so Trevor Bauer is one of the greatest, and I think he's working his way up to be one of the greatest. Yes, he's not going to post anything bad. He went down to Japan, played for the Bay Stars. Then he went to Mexico City, played for Diablos, and won a championship there. Pitched a game with 19 Ks, won. I think his franchise record over there. One thing that people hate is how horrible player he is and how he treats the dugout in the clubhouse. But I think that's completely wrong. He even talks about how people say he's all this other stuff. And it's not true. It's not the full story. Like, for example, on one of his videos on YouTube, Bauer Outage is what it's called. He posted when he did get the 19 Ks, in that the pitching coach tried to pull him, but Trevor Bauer denied and wanted to still play so he can get the 19 Ks because he knew he was super close to. And he was upset and he got a little angry, but that's what a player does. When a player cares so much about the MLB, he gets super serious in the MLB. When a player cares about the NFL, he gets super serious. For example, when Travis Kelce pushed Coach Reed in one of the playoff games, some anger issues, some media got angry, but after a couple of weeks, it passed on. And they still say Travis Kelce's a great guy. So, um, So I don't know why they're just attacking Trevor Bauer for a sport that's way longer than the NFL. So that's my point on it. And I think Trevor Bauer's a great dude. He's moving on in life. He's not worrying about all the bullshit stuff. I think he should get with his agent, by the way, if you think that. Personally, I would, but his agent, you know, looks like is dating him. I'm not saying anything, but it look he does. So yeah, move over to some NHL news. The Minnesota Wild tied up the series with the Dallas Stars, 2-2 in an overtime win. Big playoff win for them. I hope the Wild gets to a W because I'm a big Wild fan. Overtime wins, physical play, and constant pressure. A couple injuries throughout the game, a couple of fights, um, a couple little arguments, a couple missed calls by the refs, I'll say. But the Wild pulled off with a win. Um, then, then let's move to the NBA. NBA playoffs started up a couple weeks ago. The Timberwolves is tied up with, or they are 3-2 with the Denver Nuggets. Anthony Edwards is injured with a knee injury, and Dante is out with a Achilles injury. Anthony Edwards is game by game. So hopefully he's back after we win against the Nuggets. The Nuggets beat us last night at their home court. So hopefully we can come back and AL can drop another 40 piece at home. So we'll see. LeBron James, his son Bronny James is 2K career player alley oop. That's history. You don't see that very often with the NBA. Um, that father son connection, his sperm, really showing off. A lot of people saying Bronny's not one of the greatest players right now, and yeah, he's living up to his dad. It's hard for a kid to come up to live up to his dad. Um, like if he doesn't do something well, he's gonna get shoved down. But if he was not, LeBron James' son, would love on him. The media wouldn't care about him, but like we wouldn't be talking bad about him. Bronny James has grown as a player. He's getting better after each season, and we're excited to see him grow. That's a full episode for you today. This is Boulda Sports Talk, and I'm out.